As organizations move from Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID, identity architecture usually follows one of three paths: cloud-only, hybrid, or coexistence. Each path changes how users sign in, devices connect, apps authenticate, and administrators plan the migration. You already have the core building blocks: AD foundations, Entra ID fundamentals, and target state planning. Now we'll use that foundation to compare the three migration models, then connect them to sync choices, legacy dependencies, and governance. Think of identity architecture as a spectrum, not a maturity ladder. In a cloud-only model, Entra ID becomes the primary authority, and legacy Active Directory is no longer required for users or devices. In hybrid, Active Directory still owns identity, while Entra ID extends access to cloud services. Coexistence is the transition state, where both platforms operate together because apps, devices, or business units are moving at different speeds. The right choice depends on dependencies, security risk, management effort, and how quickly the organization can change. With cloud-only identity, Microsoft Entra ID becomes the main source of truth for users, groups, devices, and access. There is no required dependency on on-premises Active Directory. Devices are joined and managed through cloud tools like Intune, and applications use modern sign-in standards such as OAuth, OpenID Connect, and SAML. This model works best when the organization can avoid traditional domain dependencies. Startups, cloud-native teams, and greenfield business units often fit this pattern because they are not carrying years of legacy authentication, group policy, or domain join requirements. The payoff is simpler operations and stronger modern controls, including conditional access, MFA, and passwordless sign-in. Before committing, validate apps, devices, file access, printing, and business systems. Cloud-only identity is attractive because it reduces the traditional directory footprint. Administration becomes simpler, Microsoft 365 integration is tighter, and controls like device compliance and role governance are easier to standardize. The trade-off is readiness. Apps that depend on Kerberos, NTLM, group policy, or domain-joined servers may need redesign, replacement, or temporary hybrid support. Operations also shift from AD tools to Entra, Intune, Microsoft Graph, automation, and policy-based governance. Hybrid identity means Active Directory remains the home base for identity. Users, groups, and often devices are created and managed there first. A sync engine then publishes those objects into Microsoft Entra ID, so the same people can access Microsoft 365 and other cloud apps. The important point is authority. Usernames, group membership, account status, and many other attributes still come from AD. This model is common when domain-joined devices, file servers, legacy apps, or other systems still depend on Active Directory. In a hybrid model, every object needs a clear source of authority. If a user, group, or core attribute originates in Active Directory, AD should be the place to create and change it. Entra ID then receives that identity and uses it to grant access to Microsoft 365, SaaS apps, roles, and policies. The difficult part is the boundary. UPNs, proxy addresses, group rules, and naming standards must align before synchronization. When ownership is unclear, organizations see duplicates, sync failures, broken access, and conflicting administrator changes. Choosing a hybrid authentication model is a trade-off between simplicity, dependency, and control. Password hash synchronization is usually the default recommendation because it has low operational overhead and keeps sign-in available even if on-premises systems are disrupted. Pass-through authentication keeps password validation on-premises, but agent availability becomes critical. Federation offers the most customization for legacy or complex requirements, but it also adds the most infrastructure, monitoring, and disaster recovery responsibility. The best option is the one that meets security needs without creating unnecessary fragility. Endpoint strategy often determines how quickly identity can modernize. A traditional domain-joined device still relies on Active Directory, group policy, and on-premises authentication, so cloud-only is not just an identity switch. Hybrid Entra joined devices bridge that gap by keeping the AD join while registering with Entra ID for cloud access and management integration. Fully Entra joined devices are the modern endpoint pattern, usually managed through Intune. Migration is gradual because VPN, apps, certificates, profiles, and policy settings all need to be redesigned without disrupting the user experience. Coexistence is the bridge period where Active Directory and Entra ID both remain important to the business. Instead of one risky cutover, teams move in phases: syncing identities, modernizing authentication, migrating devices and apps, retiring old dependencies, and tightening governance. During this time, different groups may work in different ways: cloud only, hybrid, legacy, or privileged. That is normal. The risk is confusion. So ownership, documentation, change control, and communication matter. Coexistence succeeds when every temporary exception has a clear owner and a planned end state. Most coexistence strategies follow a deliberate pattern. Staged migration moves users, devices, apps, or groups in controlled waves, so each wave can be tested and corrected. Temporary dual operations keep both management models active while cloud adoption grows. Domain consolidation reduces forests and domains to simplify synchronization and governance. Long-running hybrid accepts that AD may remain indefinitely for legacy apps, infrastructure, or compliance. Choose the pattern intentionally, then optimize as dependencies shrink. Selecting the right identity model is less about preference and more about constraints. Start with application authentication. If critical apps still depend on Kerberos, NTLM, LDAP, or deep Active Directory integration, cloud-only may be premature. Then look at device state. Domain-joined, hybrid-joined, and Entra-joined endpoints each create different rollout paths and support needs. Next, test operational readiness, automation, help desk processes, identity governance, and security monitoring. Finally, factor in business risk, such as compliance, continuity requirements, acquisitions, or global operations. A scoring matrix makes these trade-offs visible and keeps the architecture decision objective. Real environments rarely fit one clean pattern. A new cloud-native business unit might start directly with Entra ID, Intune, and SaaS apps with no Active Directory dependency. A large enterprise may keep AD authoritative, then sync identities to Entra ID for Microsoft 365 and cloud access. Many organizations live in coexistence while users, devices, and apps migrate in waves. What matters is intent. Coexistence should be either a managed transition or a deliberately governed steady state. The core takeaway is that identity model selection drives the migration architecture. Cloud only works when Entra ID can fully lead. Hybrid fits when Active Directory still anchors users' devices or apps. Coexistence supports phase change, but only with strong governance. From here, the focus shifts to sync tooling, dependency discovery, and risk-aware planning.